Oh, 135 pounds. 135 pounds is so fun right now. And those are words that you wouldn't have even spoken 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Could have you been saying that? Maybe back then, right? Because Garbrandt was coming in. Dillashaw was setting the world on fire. Cruz was around. You probably could have said it in that era. But right now, Sean O'Malley's changing the game. And Dominic Cruz said something very funny because O'Malley called out Dominic Cruz. O'Malley, I think, called out 4 people, but Dominic Cruz was one of them. They asked Dominic. I happened to see Dominic's response, and Dominic goes, sure, I'm ducking him. He goes, by the way, I've been called out by somebody for the last 8 weeks. I guess I'm ducking 8 people, but I want to move up the ladder too. And then he took his shot and said, as a matter of fact, Rob Font, where you at? Okay. Love it. I love it all. But now I'm hearing from somebody that Rob Font has said that he would fight O'Malley. Now, Rob Font, specifically, his hands are clean. I am going to use Rob Font not as the actual human being, Rob Font, figuratively, for the guy with a big, beautiful ranking that won't fight anybody else unless he has a big, beautiful ranking, generally in front of you, because it drives me crazy. Therefore, you couldn't fight Sean. Now, I got to give Rob a pass, because I cannot remember a time that Font was ever that guy. But for all the other people in the sport that are the guy, I mean, I can just think of Chimaev right off the top of my head. He just got a fight announced as well, and nobody wanted to fight Chimaev. Now, they didn't want to fight him because they're afraid they're going to get their ass kicked by him. Real obvious stuff. But they used the ranking as their excuse, and the public seemed to let it go. Man, if you chicken out for any reason, at least the neighborhood I came from, it didn't matter what that reason was. You still got called a chicken. Nobody wants to be called a chicken. And you would be. So I only share that with you because why all of a sudden is O'Malley, who's not ranked, getting the attention of the top guys? Now, I'm asking a simple question that I already know the answer to. I'm only teeing myself up to answer it because placement of the card is way more important than number of ranking. And I don't know how that isn't so brutally clear. And O'Malley wants to start fighting ranked guys. Why? You can. Apparently, there's 15 of them, which, in all fairness, is a little too many to be ranking. Well, it was top 15 list. Should be 10. Secondly, why? Sean's got everything. He's got the placement on the card. He's got the star power. He's got the ability to start calling some shots. He's got the social media presence. I mean, in all fairness, what is it that Sean's going to get? Now, he can fight those guys. My point is something different. I hope that I'm articulating it well, which is, what's the benefit? You want to start fighting these ranked guys so that you can start to move up, correct? Do we all agree on that? Okay, Sean's already up. Move up doesn't mean move up the rankings. It means move up the card. That's where that expression comes from. You want to get as close to the main event and as far away from jerking the curtain as you can. It's not about moving up on the number of the ranking. Do you guys understand historically speaking, where this came from? It was put in place because other sports were doing it to be in line with them, but it was also a talking point for some of the new programming that was coming into MMA. It's very important that you understand this, just where the history of it came. So once we said we're going to come up with a ranking system, we never once said, and then we are going to use that ranking system to match up fights. That might be a reference point. We might turn our head and look at it, and it would help you certainly with some things that make sense, right? People lie, numbers don't lie. You ever heard the expression? There's a lot of truth on that. Sport comes with some integrity. Sometimes you got to go to the number one guy. Sometimes. Not all the time, and not even often of the time. Sometimes, just to preserve the integrity, and then you go back to having some fun. The term move up, it's very relevant where that came from. Sean's already up. He's already there, and he's only going to go higher with no ranking next to his name. The history of certain words, though, is very important that you understand. I mean, I had so many people that were angry at me the way I came about things. I was being a poor sport. Me talking trash, I was being a poor sport. That's not done. Martial arts is about honor. I mean, I had to hear this when I went places. Like, time out. What? Martial arts? We're not doing martial arts here. Well, sure you are. It's called mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts are the three words they put together side by side to get a bill passed through the Nevada State Legislature in 2001. You had to call it something. They called it mixed martial arts. It's just words. That's not what we're doing here. This is a cage fight. It's an ass-whipping contest. Come on. But understanding those things are really important because in this case, the rankings that everybody is trying to change their life and they're out volleying and they're out jockeying for, you're looking in the wrong direction. You're looking in the wrong direction. Move up the rankings. No, guys, move up the card. That's where the expression came from, and the expression was right. This sport existed. It was 2012 when we started doing rankings, just so you understand. They've been setting up that octagon, selling out arenas, having meaningful contests since 1993. It was 19 years later that they put in a ranking system. My point being, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter for 19 years. It doesn't matter now. It's a great talking point. It's helpful for people like me. It's a great reference point for somebody like me. The athletes themselves were never meant to care about that. They were never meant to get locked in on that. They were never start to make their chess moves and have strategies based on that. I remember a great fight. Dana White does a great job of putting on meaningful fights, but finding the meaning and then telling the world what this means. Did a fight with Ricardo Almeida and Matt Hughes out of nowhere. What's this for? And I remember somebody asked him, and guys, this was like 2009, 2008, somewhere like this. They asked Dana, why are these guys fighting? And Dana looks and he looks back at the camera and he said, because sometimes two guys just want to fight. And as simple as that answer is, it is straight, it is easy, it is to the point, it is honest. I've remembered that for 13 years because it was so effective. Sometimes two guys just want to fight. That story is going to work and resonate tenfold better than he's ranked number 3 and I'm ranked number 7. And that's why we're fighting. That's not a reason that people can understand and relate to anywhere. There's no sport that works that way. And when you get to like the footballs and the baseballs and the basketballs of the world, they put a competitive architecture in place. They write it out in the form of a bracket so everybody can read and follow along. The whole rest of the year, this team's playing this team because the schedule says so. And for the masses, from the beginning of sport, that's been enough.